our issues, our voices, our views. This is Politics in Black. What's happening, family? We are back and we are live in season 3.
Season 3.
We did 3 seasons.
We made it to another one. Happy after Juneteenth.
3 seasons.
Right.
Thank you for coming back and for being with us here for the beginning of season 3 of Politics in Black. Once again brought to you by NAASD-LA, the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants in Los Angeles.
City Angels.
My name's Chad Brown. My co-host Friday Jones. Friday, say what's up.
Welcome to another season. The ancestors are here. They have visited us through all of our technology to let us know they riding with us.
They deep in
and so we here. Let's go.
And happy Black August, fam.
Hey.
Happy Black August.
Hey.
We gotta recognize that as
We
well.
do.
As well. So we've been gone for a little while.
We have.
And just like every time we go away, it starts popping, right?
It does. We coming back with a little bit of something.
Exactly. So I'm going to start off by congratulating the grassroots advocates of Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, CJEC, because they made history once again. Yes, so in case you've been living under a rock and you missed this news, Governor Gavin Newsom signed his 2022-2023 budget trailer bill back last month in July, and in that bill was language authored by the advocates of CJEC that will, for the first time ever, require the state of California to disaggregate data collection for the Black African American community in California.
And for the first time ever, they're going to be collecting data on the descendants of freedmen,
American freedmen,
and AKA descendants of chattel slavery.
That's
so
right.
This is groundbreaking legislation.
Historic. And I want to just applaud the grassroots advocates of CJEC for their hard work. You guys put in work for years. This is the culmination and the outcome of a lot of that work that you've been doing. So kudos to all of y'all. Keep going. Keep fighting. So with that said, we got a good one today.
We do. And Black August, we have the premiere of the film Corsicana, the Bass Reeves story, which is, if I am correct, Mr. Isaiah Williams' directorial debut. And so we need to bring him in the house.
That's right.
Actor, producer, human rights activist. Isaiah Washington is an NAACP Image Award and Screen Actors Guild Award winning American actor, a veteran of 5 acclaimed Spike Lee films, Crooklyn, Clockers, Girl 6, and Get on the Bus. Washington is best known for his role as Dr. Preston Burke on ABC's medical drama, Grey's Anatomy.
Yep.
So without further ado,
get on in here, Mr. Washington.
Let's bring in Mr. Isaiah Washington.
There he is. Welcome, brother, to Politics in Black. How you doing?
I'm blessed, man. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Enjoying our Black August and enjoying being back here with you. So thank you for taking some time and joining us today.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the very first thing I want to call out, because I read your bio. You went to Willow Ridge?
That is absolutely correct, sir.
All right,
First graduating class member of 1981.
Okay, I'm a Elsick High School product, so we used to battle you guys back and forth. So I just wanted to make sure I knew who I was talking to here. That's all.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, let's start, Isaiah, because I want to make sure that our audience that might be unfamiliar with you knows who you are, a little background on you. So we like to ask the question here, who you? So just starting off, give us your lineage resume, right? Run it down for us. Where you from? Where your granny from? Where your people from?
We know you were born in Houston.
Yep.
Yeah. Born in Houston. Raised in Studewood, which is now called Independence Heights.
Yep.
And my mother was divorced, remarried, my stepfather, and twice divorced. My biological father actually was murdered because of his toxic behavior, which is one of the reasons my mom had left him. But consequently, the good news is that my mom became the first African-American woman in 1971 to actually be licensed as a barber. In fact, on her headstone, in Acres home in the gravesite, it just says Barber. You know, I buried her with her #1 clippers and her trimmer. She was thoroughly passionate about self-care and the self-care of others through their haircuts. And I pretty much spent the majority of my childhood in the Jackson Barbershop, which is now a landmark there off of Main Street in Houston, Texas. Or she would say Independence Heights. I found myself in the first scandal of Willow Ridge High School, where I didn't find out until after I joined the military that I didn't get the scholarship that I had hoped. I was a Texas high school football boy. I was highly touted in high school as a football player. I ran track, played basketball.
All-American.
Football was my goal. I had the dreams of becoming Deion Sanders.
We all did back then. We all did.
Running backwards for my entire career in the NFL, I was completely consumed with everything football.
Yeah.
Thought I would end up at University of Texas or Baylor or Grambling or Southern University or LSU or even Texas Southern. And I got a year-to-year offer to attend Texas Lutheran, and found out didn't want that because I figured if I got hurt, got redshirted, then I'll end up back home broke, and hurt.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a full ride. At that, I was rebellious and joined the military without my mom's knowing. At that time, you can join at 17 without your parents' permission. So I had already joined before I had even graduated high school.
Wow.
Disappointed all of my coaches. But in hindsight, that was a pretty good move because at the time, Houston was very big in it at the time. And it was suffering from the first major recession during the Reagan administration. I saw a lot of people, not necessarily melanated people, that were walking away from their homes. They were losing their jobs in the oil industry. And we didn't have a Winnebago or a camper. So we had to figure out ways to survive during a very tough time. My mom and I, at that time, she was considered a single parent, my 11th and 12th grade year. I talk about that in my book because of some domestic violence. And my response to it put me and my mom at risk. So we fled and had to pretty much start over and complete my last 2 years in high school. And from there, I didn't want to be a burden on my mom, knowing that I didn't get a full ride. I know she couldn't afford to pay for my college, year to year at that time. And she made too much money, right, for me to qualify for the Pell Grant at the time, or any government assistance to go to college. So I found myself in the military and ended up going to college while I was in the military. I got a 2-year degree, associate's degree in aerospace engineering from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And at that time, when I got out of the military, before I got out of the military, I went home for a homecoming game, only to find out from one of my coaches, one of the few African-American coaches, who was about 3 at the time, told me to meet him at the field house. And that's where he showed me some letters of interest from some of the major colleges I hoped to go to that he felt I should know about. He went to assuage his guilt for participating in this conspiracy to get certain blue chip players to go to lesser programs to help those coaches bolster their careers and also continue the legitimacy at those colleges. Now, some people will say, "Oh, that's controversial. We need to fact check that." But do what you want. That's what happened.
I'm glad you did, because the NCAA, I mean, the coaches do well all the time, regardless of what happens to the players. So good for you.
Yeah. So I rebelled and went into the military, but I was disappointed when I saw the letters of interest. I think Texas Tech was in there. Grambling was in there. Coach Eddie Robinson was at the height of his career at the time. Who did want to play for Coach Eddie Robinson?
Exactly, bro.
Grambling, Southern University. Who that talking about beating them Jags? Who didn't want to be a part of those types of HBCUs, right? Particularly in the Southern region. But it didn't work out for me. But the good news is that I got to travel and explore the world, and got in a lot of trouble because I didn't have the proper leadership and proper role models as a father. I was very highly spoiled, or I can say wasn't underexposed to life experiences. I deal with a number of things. Growing up in the Black church, we just didn't talk about the birds and the bees. We didn't talk about certain things. So when I got out of the house, I just, showed my natural behind, in the Philippines, just getting involved with any and everything that I thought was adventurous.
We're going to keep it PG on the show. We're going to keep it PG.
So far, so good. So far, so good.
Yeah, no, but it was a learning curve.
Absolutely.
A lot of unfortunate things happened because of my behavior, but I survived them. I talk about it on my podcast, Isaiah Washington Speaks Again. I get into the grisly details of all of that. I'm still 19 years old on my podcast and my storytelling. I'd like to get back to that at some point. But ultimately, all of those adventures or those experiences led me to the campus of Howard University.
Hi, Bison.
Yeah. And the way I discovered.
We are everywhere. Just get used to it. Just accept it already.
That's right. HU, you know.
You know.
And I actually discovered how Black I was and how Black I wasn't. Colorism was at the all-time high in 1986, 87 when I was there. I left prematurely because I ran out of money. But I was fortunate enough to audition for a woman named Diane Houston, who actually was the first African-American woman to be nominated for an Oscar. She did not win, for Tuesday Morning Ride, starring Bill Cobbs and the late, great Ruby Dee. And I got that role as one of the first originating members in a repertory theater. And we did what we would call TIE, T-I-E, Theaters and Education, where we would go into distressed communities and distressed junior high schools and high schools throughout New York City, Far Rockaway, outside of Brooklyn, Canarsie, Manhattan, homeless shelters, and perform and try to bring some light and love, right, to the crack infested victims of crack cocaine at that time in 1988. And I started making some pretty good money. $300 a week was a lot of money in 1988 for a single person, But Vera Katz, who's still my mentor, was the one that put me on the proper track to really taking acting seriously and become an actor. I primarily wanted to become an actor because I just felt that at the time I didn't have good hair. I didn't have light brown eyes and green eyes.
We talked about this a little bit in prepping for the show. I mean, I did read A Man from Another Land and How Finding My Roots Changed My Life. And you share a lot of yourself in that book, actually. And when you talked about, it's almost like Spike Lee's movie. You did so many of Spike Lee's movie, but it was almost like your Howard experience really.
School days.
Yeah, school days with the colorism and, the jigaboos and the whole brown bag thing. Like, I promise you, I did not, we were there in the same decade. And I didn't have like that experience. You talked about being exposed to Greek life. And I didn't get exposed to Greek life until my senior year. My mother said I have money for 4 years, and that's it. So it was senior year. I didn't have time for that. But in reading your book, it was really surprising because, like, Howard is probably not the only place where, like, people experience that level of colorism, particularly around the Greek life. Not really a question.
I know. It's an assessment. It's an observation.
Yeah.
The boule exists. That mindset, Jack and Jill exists, and you have to understand the history of bigotry and racism in the country at the time. A lot of our people had to come up with ways to assimilate or assimilate through the lens of the oppressor. So if you know the history of the Kappas, they were created and taught to use those canes to defend themselves from bigots, right? From attacks, literally. It wasn't just wearing that, red and white cane. It was a weapon of self-defense during the time that they came into fruition. It was a necessary fraternity to survive at the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like most institutions, they become irrelevant for various stages of their existence, and then have to try to catch up to see how they can serve the community, and particularly African American community at large. I assume they're still doing that. They have evolved like any other institution to keep up with times. But I have been brought to my attention that colorism is still a problem, unfortunately, here in the 21st century.
Yeah.
In our HBCUs. I really put the largest of the blame of that on mainstream media and on us. We continue to support the things that they don't think they have to support because they're not melanated. We are traditionally, as a people, will support everything. We're very open-minded, very generous, and that has been to our chagrin. Actually, it's been to our demise. Is that we're people of the sun, and we want to love, we want to party, we want to have a good time. We don't want to have conflict, but at the same time, we're very good observation souls, and we learn the behaviors of our oppressors, and actually whatever we do and put our minds to, we become extraordinary at it. So if we're going to become a criminal, we're going to become the best criminals out there. Right? Because Americana, particularly in Hollywood and the canons of the great books out there, they have celebrated great criminals like Jesse James,
right?
Billy the Kid. Constantly, you've seen multiple movies on Jesse James and books on their criminals, John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson. You have it. They've made it a part of Americana. However, when we become violent, we're on the outside of the law. We get what, Superfly?
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah. I want to ask you if I could hop in real quick, Isaiah. Just a quick question, going back to your entrance into the acting field. And you talked about colorism being, an issue that you identified. But what did the landscape for African Americans look like, colorism aside, but just in that profession in the 80s, 90s for you? Were there more African Americans, more Black folks that you saw around you, more opportunities, and how has it changed over the years since you've been in the game for a long time now?
That's a good question. 30 years ago, maybe 40, almost 40 years ago. Obviously, at the time, my only beacon of hope was Denzel Washington. Not only because he looked like me, but he had my last name. But what I didn't know is that there's still a lot of bias and bigotry in the industry at that time. I just thought, in my own world, that Denzel can't possibly be, or doesn't necessarily want to be, the only African American leading actor.
He can't do everything.
Right.
He can't do everything. Yeah.
But that wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
I think he's even commented on that. Is that why is it that when you have one, it's always one? It's either Cynthia Poitier or Billy D. Williams, and that's it.
Yeah.
For 10, 20 years. They give you a 10-year run, and then they're done with you and on to the next. And now, if you have a British accent, then that's even better.
Right now.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's part of what we see is the shift from American Black actors to foreign Black actors or British Black actors, like you said, having a British accent or coming from another part of the world.
It's about narratives.
Okay.
It's about comfort. The Hollywood system is not interested in feeling uncomfortable when they're paying you.
Yeah.
They don't want any talk back. They don't want to negotiate massive deals comparative to their less melanated people. You do what you're told, like any corporate setting. You keep your mouth shut, keep your nose clean. You don't make them look bad, and you take what they give you. If you step outside of that, then you will be skipped over.
Yeah.
For decades.
You get punished for that. Yeah.
And you, luckily...
I don't, to me, I didn't look at it as a punishment when I didn't want to participate that way, because I've always had a strong sense of myself. I worked for the U.S. government for 4 years, for Christ's sake. Yeah. I know how to handle myself and be professional. That's not the issue. I think the larger thing that people are missing is the pay equality scenario. They confuse narrative thinking, oh, they're racist, they're this, they're that. Yeah, there's bias there. But there is a part of the gatekeeper's DNA that is very competitive and very predatory. And the last thing that they want is for people who historically have been oppressed to catch up to them economically.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with race. It's racist when they stop particular groups economically to compete.
That's power.
But I believe that all racism, in my opinion, at 59, is based out of fear of competition for any resource, be it women, land, love, what have you. That's just part of humankind.
Yeah.
Across the board. People say, "Oh, you're making it, very simplifying." I'm like, well, I've been on this. I've been at the table of power for 25 years. I've sat in the rooms. I've been beyond the spook behind the door who sat by the door. I've been in the room.
Yeah.
I've been in the White House several times. I've sat at the table of power, and I will tell you that there's a definitive insecurity with a particular DNA that has guilt for the past.
Yeah. Which
brings me to this idea that until we are able to have a conversation about restorative justice, real, true restorative justice, as defined by Desmond Tutu's organization, Truth and Reconciliation, that was set in 1996 and sanctioned by then President Nelson Mandela, to have a conversation about the crimes against humanity during apartheid. We need to have a real conversation about the crimes of the United States government.
Absolutely.
There were laws on the books.
Absolutely.
You preach it to the choir.
Absolutely.
Preach it to the choir this
keep
morning.
Preaching. You're on a roll. You're on a roll.
No, but you also, I think there's a book. I forget the author name, but Isabella
Wilkerson.
Wilkerson Cass.
No. Hold on.
Okay, we going to real church. He said, "Let me find the book.
Let me go get the reference."
Okay.
Real quick. But he's absolutely right when he's talking about racism and white supremacy.
I'm reading this incredible book here. Can you see it?
Yes.
White Trash. The 400-year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg.
Yeah.
It's really an interesting treatise that doesn't necessarily include us. It really talks about the reasons the elites or people in power have used all people considered part of the underclass as tools to remain in power.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We couldn't agree more with you, Isaiah, here.
Obviously, this is going to come up, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. When you talk about reparations, it's not as complex as people like to think it is. I mean, you can make it very complex.
Agreed.
But ultimately, Fred Hampton lost his life for doing exactly what you guys are trying to do. So when you get a buy-in from the underclass, all underclass, that feel like, wow, why am I going to have my tax dollars go to you black people when I was Polish or I was Irish and I was treated poorly too during the 1800s? Or my parents were in servitude as well. It's going to be a constant back and forth until you get a buy-in from the underclass at that overall.
Yeah.
If you don't get a buy-in from the underclass, then you're not going to win this argument.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to win this case. And
you could
go on and on and on about chattel slavery, but ultimately, all empires, historically, the argument will come up that slavery has been a part of building empires since the Roman Empire. They have fallen because of corruption and avarice. And we're getting very close to that in our democracy, or losing our republic because of corruption, avarice, people who feel like they have the right to dictate what others have to do because they're smarter than us, or they've done 30 years of penance for us and doesn't seem they can change the system, but now they're part of the system. You could go back and forth with that, but until you have a conversation at the national level where you can really have a conversation about who is going to be responsible for crimes against humanity on American soil, it's not the current so-called less melanated people in America that own those slaves and technically are not benefiting from white supremacy because they're struggling just as well as any other less melanated person. So you're not going to win that argument until someone like Desmond Tutu leads the charge. Now here's the bottleneck. In order to have a legitimate organization sanctioned at the national level, it has to be sanctioned by 3 bodies, right? The executive, legislative, and judiciary. Well, who are the people that you're going to cite in the potential lawsuit for crimes against humanity?
Yeah, all 3 branches.
All 3 branches.
Yeah,
right.
All 3 branches. No, you're absolutely right.
You know what I mean? You would think, well, reparations would have came into play with that melanated president for 8 years.
Well, he said it wasn't going to happen on his first run for the election, and he obviously meant what he said.
Yeah, well.
It can't be done. And the problem is not who's going to get the reparations. It's who's going to pay for it.
The federal government.
The federal government.
The federal
we out
government.
here
And
throwing
that's something.
throwing checks everywhere.
No. I understand. Look, trust. I've been dealing with reparations before you guys even got out of high school. Trust me. Since 1976, I've been on this conversation. My point is, until you get a buy-in from all of the underclass, much like Fred Hampton did and was assassinated for it, this debate and this lawsuit won't get the national support.
So it's interesting that that's your position because
it's not a position, it's a fact. Because no, it's a fact.
But here's the thing.
It's a fact because let's just say it. White people, why do white people get up in arms about their taxes not going towards
one, they think we don't pay taxes, but that's a whole other conversation.
People vote their pocketbooks.
So my point, who controls the narrative in this country?
Mainstream media.
And who is multiply in charge of the mainstream media?
So I hear you.
The political power structure.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you. But let me share a concept.
But it's not the concept. Until you get a narrative that makes sense to all of the underclass, the narrative that has been put out there for over 400 years to say that we're not worthy, we're not deserving. You could just look at social media. Look at all these black people robbing white people and doing all these crazy things. They're not worthy of it. And we work hard and we're not criminals. Until a truth and reconciliation conversation can be had where the people that you want to buy into what is obviously needs to be done to end this sense of powerlessness.
Barbara Lee wrote that bill, right? She wrote that bill. Her bill has received more financing but less attention than HR 40. But
who put her colleagues in office? Not black people that have to sign off on the bill. There's over 400 representatives that represents people all over the United States. They're not going to get into this conversation. And you're talking about a group of people that only think of themselves. They're not working for us collectively.
And that is the type of behavior that we need to emulate. We need to start thinking about ourselves specifically as black people. And so I don't disagree with you about There's only one way that you can wrest power from another group. And Frederick Douglass said that through the ballot box, and the whole thing is the bullet box. Those are your options in this country. If you're not, it could be part of out of context. If you're not prepared to go to war like Haiti did, to take what's yours, and not through shopping centers, not through. So I will ask you a question.
Because if it were working, you wouldn't exist. The laws wouldn't still be on the books.
True.
The people who committed the crime also have CEOs since the United States Constitution 1871, working as CEOs, not prime ministers, over a sovereignty supposedly. This is not a question of whether people, descendants, or do reparations. Martin Luther King talked about this. Write the check.
Absolutely.
This is not new, and I don't have a position. Martin Luther King died the moment he started talking about
economic justice. The moment he started talking about economic justice, absolutely,
for all oppressed peoples, or what I say, the underclass. See, the trick on us is that they've got us thinking that reparations is just due Black people from chattel slavery.
Yeah, but that gets back to my point. Barbara Lee, which is true, but Barbara Lee's Truth and Reconciliation bill that she wrote, which ironically, like, none of the underclass has gotten behind her to support her Truth and Reconciliation bill. So if there has to be a tie-in and a buy-in, and she has written a bill that includes different people, it includes different laws that were attached to people, including what I will call the American freedmen experience, which included chattel slavery. But she petitions her bill to Black people. Why isn't she taking her bill to the other people that are referenced in her legislation to get behind that and let us correct HR 40, which we have attempted to do it at many different, times and levels.
Brainwashing.
To pull, if you will, the arguments together.
Brainwashing and fear. Friday, you know this. Everybody's not built like you and I. Everybody's not going to risk life and limb to get what they want. They will sit on social media and complain and look for a martyr. That happened to me 2 years ago. They made me the great hero of conservatism. I wasn't give a F about politics like that. I went to the White House to support the First Act bill. I'm not trying to be, my views, if I got older, I'm more conservative because I'm older with a wife and kids, and there's certain concerns I have about certain information out there, but that's only because I'm older. My views are very liberal. They've only become conservative because things have gotten more less progressive and more left to the center and whatever. That's just the sign of the times. I'm okay with that, but the conversation needs to be had about us.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely agree about that.
We can't.
Let us come to your podcast and have that.
We can't get our people. We can't get our people to come to a picnic on time.
Oh well, I'm not going to do that. I'm
not blaming the victim. I'm saying, what is it? Look, me, I've been working outside of Hollywood. I'm trained in various firearms.
Yep.
I know how to live off the land. I've worked outside of Hollywood system without their pacifier for 15 years.
Yep.
I have sacrificed, I have lost, I have suffered. To get to this place where I can say that I'm an independent filmmaker with allies that are not all Black people. I don't expect all Black people to support my movie because why? Maybe all Black people don't have the $13 to go see it.
Yep.
Well, wait, before you transition into the movie, let us run Corsicana's trailer, and then we have to talk about that because you are absolutely operating outside of the studio system, and we are here to support you as a filmmaker and as an independent filmmaker. Absolutely. So let's run that clip.
Let's run it.
What do you want?
Y'all wouldn't let me get a word in on that shit.
Just keep on riding.
I don't think so, ma'am. We're gonna stay for a while.
All in this gang are hired, terrorized and killed anybody that get in their way.
I assume you're a lawman?
Federal marshal.
You leaving again now?
Wherever this dollar ball goes, he leaves trail of bodies behind. Men, women, children.
I rode it around noon, started shooting.
If I don't stop him, I will have blood on my hands. I found this on the boy. He's been putting them on the victims ever since he killed your wife and your son. I'm gonna need you on my posse to stop him.
You know I'm ready to ride.
Big California. Sharpshooter.
Do you understand what it feels like to not know if you're hurt, dead, or alive?
Why did you become a preacher man?
To repent. I'm a killer.
We all killers, Sam. And some men just need killing.
A simple flank and shoot maneuver. You hit them from front as soon as they get through Eagle Pass.
Get the job done. Get the Hell Brothers land. Get back.
You feel that?
He's coming.
Can I kill him now?
Yeah.
Yes, we are here for,
we're here for it.
this.
Yeah, no, we're here for it. Yeah, no, that looks powerful.
The imagery, the key imagery here. Bass Reeves worked at the federal level.
Absolutely.
Operative word, federal.
He was first African American U.S.
No,
deputy marshal.
he wasn't the first.
Not
he
the
was
first?
the first most successful.
So over
African
3,000 arrests.
Yeah,
So,
3,000 arrests. There were many like him and women like him.
Absolutely.
It's just that he was the best at it.
And his story has gotten. Why would you say his story has gotten covered up? Because you don't hear the name Bass.
It was whitewashed.
Oh, whitewashed, exactly. What
Lone Ranger?
What's
Because
your take on that?
Racism, obviously. Why would a group of people that have been empowered and also been the benefactors to an oppressive system in this nation want to start a sense of power and through these images and equality when they themselves view themselves, because of the history of this nation, are very well aware of feeling that at any point they could be victimized because of the past, whether they were a slaveholder or not. And that's where this truth and reconciliation conversation has to be had at the national level. So those individuals that are not melanated, whose ancestors fought and died during the Civil War, can have a say in the process, whether we want to hear it or not. It's like marriage counseling, right? When you go to marriage counseling, and I've gone, they don't tell you what you need to do about your problem. They told me and my wife, do you want to be married or not?
Mm-hmm.
You can either figure out how to understand and communicate and tolerate and live amongst each other and continue to, okay, you obviously love each other, but you don't have you're changing, so you don't understand how to communicate and coexist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over time. I've been with the same woman for 26 years. She's not the same. When I met her, she was 27. Yeah. But we've been married for 26 years of her life.
Yeah.
You understand? Mm-hmm. It's a long time. It's like I have two of her, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking 400 years of counseling.
Well, the imagery in your trailer is a lot of counseling because it's a lot of visual expression that we generally do not get to see. And when you when you shared it with me, that I was sold just based on the visual, if I'm being very honest, because it was freeing.
This is why we can't have a conversation about a lot of things in this nation, is because there's in a certain mindset and a particular agenda to keep that kind of imagery away from the world.
Out of the mainstream, absolutely.
And you're debuting this in Houston. Your diction on camera is always so precise, and you talked a little bit about that in your book. But this is, I think, the first time that we are hearing like a little of that Houston kind of come out. And
it's going down.
Yeah. So like talk about just the tone that, in terms of your speech, which is for me very divergent. And I mean, I saw you in The 100 too, because I'm a sci-fi geek. And Miranda Kwok, that's one of my homies. And so
I just found out
Friday, you're not helping my cause. It almost seems like you're a biased interview here. So you gotta be hard. You gotta be a harder on me.
No, I told you I'm a fan of this project, and whatever we can do to help you, be outside of the system and be a success, we are here for it.
It's just the truth, guys.
Yeah.
Again, going back to truth and reconciliation. It's the thing is, I've got to know this. Like, why is telling the truth so hard?
Yep.
Why is telling the truth, or more importantly, accepting the truth so hard? Well, again, it goes about insecurity of a people, insecurity of a person. Even in a relationship, if something goes wrong and there's an infidelity, the truth hurts when you admit it. and it hurts worse. It hurts less when you're caught, but you won't admit it unless you're caught. Mm-hmm. But if you're caught, you probably wanted to be caught because the guilt was so great. That's how I feel about this nation, that the guilt has been so great for those who know the truth, that something like Corsicana will create a sense of a salve to say that, look, in the Indian Territory in the 1800s, there was no institutionalized racism, because all of the peoples from the civilized tribe were forced to walk the Trail of Tears, kicked out of their lands. And the Choctaws were problematic in that region because they were sympathizers to the Confederates. So they had their own policies of policing situations, and they had their issues with the rest of the Creek, the Seminoles, okay, that were part of the five, the Chickasaw as well. But Bass Reeves spoke all 5 languages. When he ran away from slavery, he was taken in by the Seminole.
He lived with the Seminoles for a while. Yeah.
But he also was basically a diplomat as well. Mm-hmm. He was like a one-man United Nations. Absolutely. In the from my opinion. Now this is not documented from my research. I look at him as a diplomat, as a Frederick Douglass type, for that region, that kept everyone that was just there to survive. They didn't have time to be lynching one another, raping one another, because they had all been cast out.
Yeah.
They weren't part of the U.S. government. It wasn't until the U.S. government used Bass Reeves and entities like him to make it safe, to get control of the alcohol business, lift the prohibition, and get access to the capital, which was millions of dollars made. I mean, they were selling bootleg wine in Indian Territory for $200 a bottle in the 1890s. So it's like bigger than crack cocaine.
Just to hop in here, Isaiah, real quick, because one of the things that was refreshing when I saw this trailer from you was seeing you as a star, a Black American playing one of our, Black American heroes and icons, right? Because that's something that we've been starved of, and it's something that we have seen our narratives stolen and our heroes, our icons, being played by folks that don't share our lineage or share our history. And so recently, I heard John Leguizamo come out and make a statement.
I like John.
Yeah, he came out and made a statement about James Franco being cast to play Fidel Castro, and there was some anger there in the Cuban and Hispanic or Latino community around that casting. And
I can understand that.
And so seeing you playing Bass Reeves, that was refreshing to me, because we had things like a Harriet where, Cynthia Erivo, who's a talented person, but Cynthia Erivo, who doesn't share our lineage, playing a Harriet Tubman. So I want to get your thoughts on the importance of American freedmen, Black Americans, controlling our narratives and also portraying our icons, our historical icons.
That's where you come in with the success of Corsicana. Once Corsicana succeeds, it's on track to fail and make $2 million or $14 million in 1,000 theaters. That's failure, which is a success. But to make it an uber success, it's on track to get into 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 theaters. We're still in negotiation with the theaters where it can amass anywhere from $56 to $60 million. Now, I'll tell you, it didn't take that much to make this movie. Once, and I have 40% ownership of all revenue for this film in perpetuity. What I'm going to do with it is come back, not be told what to do, not create a studio, but continue to tell stories that will benefit our narratives.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
And not exclude, bisexual orientation. Or you look at my movie, you see everybody in it. I even have a Native American in it.
As long as I see Black Americans, I'm good. And
it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah,
we have been subjugated for 75 years in this industry or longer.
That's right.
And he's been subjugated. Everyone with a thick mustache, even Sam Elliott, I love him, but he looks like Bass Reeves. He's just white. So it's okay for us to go enough.
Yeah. No,
let's tell the truth.
Let's tell the truth.
Let's tell the truth. Yeah.
But it has to be good. Just because it's Black doesn't mean that just because I'm Black, if people look at my movie and say it's not good.
Yeah. But we got the best stories. We just we have to have the ability, the access, and the resources to be able to bring our stories to people.
I have said for decades, if Hollywood wanted to make $300 trillion,
yeah.
Absolutely. If they just told our stories from Black American narratives
through us, yes,
they would make over $300 trillion.
I agree, because I go broke going to all those movies. Absolutely.
Look what Black Panther did.
Yeah,
right.
Made $2 billion. And it took 20 years, 50 years to get it done.
Yeah,
and that's how I look at it.
That's a whole other conversation. We got to come on your podcast and have that conversation.
Let's get out of here. I know it's over.
And follow up on that race class conversation, because I got some things to say to you on that one. But we'll table that for right now.
We will table it. I know where to find you. I follow you on social media, but please let our audience know where they can find you.
Absolutely.
On Twitter, I'm around on Twitter at @iWashington, but I'm on Truth Social now. Isaiah Washington, 1963. I spent a lot of time. I prefer Instagram. Twitter, is very toxic, but I'm doing less, and I'm just promoting the movie for all people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, explain that it's people for all people. If you're tired of propaganda, you're tired of agendas, you're tired of weak story, gratuitous violence and sex for no reason, this level of perversion, come and support my movie. And if you don't like it, hashtag Course Kind of Movie and say what could be done better. But it's a start.
Yeah.
To change the narrative inside of a system that hasn't cared about our Black heroes, American heroes, at all.
Yeah. No,
haven't.
It's important to support this. And what you're talking about, something we talk about a lot, is institution building. And you're talking about you're talking about taking revenue from this and pouring it back into our own narratives.
Like I said, in my storytelling, I have an interest in my TV show where we can have a real conversation in a movie and a TV way, talking about the importance and the conversation of reparations, why it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because once you get the information out in the proper context, you can't do it in a debate on social media. You're not going to win that.
Agreed.
But people have to hear the truth and get an understanding of why are Black people still talking about reparations.
That's why I say truth and healing, not reconciliation. But that's also another. That's also
truth.
Another,
That's truth and healing.
That's another conversation.
You have been fantastic, and we have to do this again. Whether you come here,
we got to bring you back.
We have to bring you back. Opening August 28th, Houston, Texas. Red carpet.
26th.
August 26th.
The official only the world premiere is a Thursday on the 25th, but the official release in Illinois, throughout Texas, 8 theaters, the Star Cinema Grill in Texas, and we're moving on to Florida. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there's a major that will put us in additional 600 theaters, and another major to put us in another 500 theaters. All I need is 1,000 theaters across the country, because Precious made $54 million with 1,000 theaters with Monique, and she ended up getting an Oscar for it.
So people, let's do it. You got the numbers straight from Isaiah Washington's mouth.
Yep.
Corsicana. Let me get my diction together. Check it out. Check it out.
We're going to have a sidebar.
No, thank you for being here, Isaiah.
All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Sorry it went over.
No
worries.
All right.
All right.
Black share of wealth, at least to the black share of the population, it would require an additional at least $10 trillion.
Talking about films we need to support, ETM Media and the Reparations Now documentary is in production now, and they have a GoFundMe set up. donate to that film, because these are grassroots advocates who are telling our stories, telling our narratives, and telling the truth about the inside workings of what's happening in the movement across the country. So ETN Media, shout out to you.
Yes.
That looks great.
Umoya and Kim, what's
Umoya
up?
and Kim, absolutely, and support that project as well. So we're going into the second half, and we got a lot to catch up on here with Miss Priscilla Sterling, because there's a lot that's happened with the Emmett Till case that we need to get some clarity on, and we need to talk about next steps. So I'm going to bring in Priscilla, who's a friend to this show. She's a friend to us. She's been here before, but she's the co-founder of the Emmett Till Justice for Families Foundation in Mississippi. She's an assistant teacher at Lanier High School 833 in Jackson, Mississippi, and a health worker in the Georgetown community. Ms. Sterling is a graduate of Lanier High School and Belhaven University, and also she is a blood relative of Mamie and Emmett Till. So please welcome to Politics in Black for the second time, Ms. Priscilla Sterling.
Miss Priscilla.
How you doing, sis?
Can't hear.
You can't hear us? You can't hear us?
We hear you.
We got you good. You sounding clear to us. We're having some technical difficulties.
I told y'all the ancestors was here. So this is consistent with how production has been. So just know.
This is consistent with how they've been listening to us about
everything
Carol
we
and
do.
Bryant.
That's right.
They acted deaf on the sound not coming through. We're gonna work on trying to get Priscilla and the audio worked out here. But
okay, I can hear you.
Okay,
You're
all right.
now.
How
Great.
you doing, sis? How you doing today?
How you all doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. Good to see you again. We wanted to bring you back, Priscilla, because we've been talking in back channels. I know Friday has been organizing with you on some of the campaigns to help bring some awareness around, the fact that we now know where Carolyn Bryant is. There was a warrant found for Carolyn Bryant, and there was a campaign to put pressure on the DA there, Dwayne Richardson, I believe his name is, to serve that warrant and arrest Carolyn Bryant. So there's been some recent developments, and I know you have some more news to share with us. So I'm going to just turn over to you so you can bring us up to speed. Let us know where we're at with this investigation or the trying to get to the serving of the warrant.
Thank you all for having me. I know the public has been made aware that they're not going to indict her. And the family has some concerns because we don't know what evidence they brought into the courtroom for the jurors to hear for them not to indict her. So we are continuing to fight for Dwayne Richardson to go back to trial. I know there's no such thing as far as in the law, the system of law, that they can go back and retry this same case. But as a family, all of us, everybody that's involved right now are concerned with why did they go to trial? Go to court. Bring this information before the jurors, and what information they brought before the jurors, because I have been part of a grand jury hearing. And I know being part of a grand jury hearing, all the evidence is not brought into the courtroom for us as jurors to listen to. I know I have found out about new information after we have, it's over with. So I know that the case can be brought back based on other evidence. So we do have additional evidence. So I'm looking forward for actually this coming back to trial. I'm looking for this to actually come back to trial. For there to be an indictment because of additional information.
So, and just you let us know how we can tread, because we have talked offline and you have shared some of the things that your team has come up with. And I feel like if the public knew, there really would be outrage again, because it almost feels like there should be a push to move this trial outside of the state of Mississippi, because the I don't even know what you call it, the interference, it goes to the highest level. The obstruction goes to the highest level of government in the state of Mississippi.
Yes, and like I've said before, you have United States senators such as James O. Eastland and John Stennis that was involved with Emmett Till's case that actually helped J.W. Milam and Roy Bryan get off.
And for folks, wait, Priscilla, I want to slow you down. Because I'm from Mississippi. I know who James Eastland is and Stennis, but we're talking about congressional members from Mississippi that were card-carrying members of the KKK, basically.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
I just want to make sure folks know who we're talking about. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you have these key figures, such as these United States senators from the state of Mississippi sitting in the White House during this time and intervening, obstructing justice by going to the Department of Defense, getting Emmett Till's dad's files and use them in his son's murder case to get these 2 Klansmen acquitted. Well, what do you think about Carolyn Bryant not being indicted right now in the state of Mississippi? That means that we have higher ups, political influence involved in this case, and they're making sure that Carolyn Bryant does not go to trial.
Yeah, because
that's the reason why this needs to move outside of Mississippi. If you have not heard about the many issues right now today that are still going on in Mississippi, and the United States, the citizens should know that this needs to move out of Mississippi, because it's not going to be fair, and justice is nowhere in this when you have political influence.
Yeah, and what I hear you also saying is that once we start really digging into this crime, through a trial process, that it goes a lot higher than just Carolyn Bryant.
It goes all the way to the federal government.
It goes all the way to the federal government and lands at the steps of the White House.
Yes, sir.
So there's a much larger web here that's connected that there needs to be some light shown on, because this is what 66 years, 67 years now at this point. Justice denied. Of justice denied. So tell us. I again want to tread lightly. Don't want you to share anything that you cannot share. But in the vein of new evidence coming to light and the potential for another grand jury, what do you see the next steps, or what do you need from the community around the country, from our community around the country that has been watching this? What do you need, or what do you want to happen so that we get to that point of a new grand jury and charges finally being brought?
First and foremost, I feel that we need to expose the things that are happening here now versus what happened back in 1955. And if you have United States senators, we need the support of Americans, not just in the state of Mississippi, but I'm asking from all over. We just created the Emmett Till Justice for Families website. We're still doing tricklers right now with it. But we're asking for donations, and simply because in the response to a variety of concerns and increases in the number of hate crimes, police shootings, racial incidents, it's hard to keep up with the brutal attacks against Black men and women, Latinos, Asian, gays, disabled. We need something done, and the Emmett Till Justice for Families Foundation is having it. We're trying to fix it, whereas we can get legal counsel, our own forensic pathologists, investigators to go in and expose these areas in these certain cities and states where crime is taking place and it's not being exposed. We need that.
Absolutely.
We need donations to come in for us to be able to afford to help citizens in America, especially here in the South. This Bible Belt, and I know that it's happening everywhere. I know the West Coast, because I don't know if people are aware there is a hate map, and the hate map has the different hate organizations in your state. In your state.
Oh, we got plenty
that
out
will
here.
allow you to see.
Yeah.
I'll keep talking. What'd you say?
I said we got them out.
Look, the last time I saw a Confederate flag, it was in Pasadena.
Yeah,
so
you don't have to go far.
You don't have to go far here.
Yes. So if we can bring attention to people and make them realize, hey, look, you all need to go look at this hate map. You all need to see the various groups that are in your area. And they could be police officers, our local officials, our doctors, our lawyers. You need to know who are part of racist organizations. Absolutely. So they cannot be service to us in our communities. We need to expose this. We need for people, we need to wake up, and we need to wake others up.
Absolutely.
And first and foremost, the way we get people out that are a part of these racist organizations is to vote them out. We need to start organizing. I hear about a lot of community organizers, but it's not enough to go down the streets driving a car with bullhorns telling people to come out. No, ma'am, no, sir. It's time for us to go door to door, write down names, and make sure that when they go to the voting polls, that they're voting. Yeah. And we need to get these 18-year-olds that are in high school, because I'm telling you, in areas in Mississippi, out around the counties, they're telling the white kids to go and vote. Yeah, it's not a big thing in our communities where they're telling our high schoolers that are 18 to go vote. Yeah. So this will increase the number of votes in our communities.
Absolutely. No, I'm 1000% behind that. We got to rally our youth to get engaged.
Yeah, and if I could just share a personal story, the person that registered me to vote in English in high school was Martin Luther King's nephew. Actually, Coretta Scott King's side, but that was mandatory for everyone in this man's class because of the work his family, has done for the country. So I salute and support that in Mississippi and really everywhere we are, because that's an important message.
And I love the idea, Priscilla, of identifying who has affiliation with these hate groups. And
I mean, it will make a big difference.
Because will make a difference. That's something. If you can't find something to vote for, you can find somebody or something to vote against, right? And I personally, if you show me there's a candidate on the ballot who is affiliated with a hate group that hates my community or has perpetrated violence on my community, I really don't care who else is running against him unless he's a part of another hate group, right? So I'm gonna cast my vote for the person running against him. I don't care what party. That's bipartisan. That's across party lines. So I think those are both great. I mean, rallying our youth and identifying these folks at all levels of government and obviously in law enforcement as well. It needs to be done. So thank you for bringing that.
Yes, sir. And I don't know if people are aware, Carolyn Holloway Bryant, whose family owned slaves, in Mississippi, and her family owned the biggest cotton plantation also in Mississippi. And you see the influence, because if you have James O. Eastland, who also owned a plantation of slaves, the connection of making sure that these people didn't go to jail. Carolyn Bryant was never going to get indicted. Yeah. So the influence needs to be exposed here in Mississippi, and that's the only reason why Carolyn Bryant has not gone to jail. That was the only reason why Carolyn Bryant was never, ever sought out to be found. Yeah. Because of politics here in Mississippi.
Now, where is Carolyn Bryant now? Is she still a Mississippi resident?
She's in Kentucky.
Yeah, that was the latest.
Okay.
She's in Kentucky.
So she on the run?
She's well, she's not much on the run, but she is not hard to find in Kentucky. Emmett Till's death was an emotional tipping point.
Absolutely.
That sparked the civil rights era into a new level of participation. Yes. And I do think that the fact that there is difficulty this time around should spark the same level of participation. Yes. Because we haven't completed the business. The nation hasn't completed the business where Emmett's death is concerned. And so you funding for your organization, you're mobilizing. We know there are some things that are happening in Mississippi that people can be supporting. Can you talk about some of the activities that are happening that you are participating in order to really get people involved?
Yes, we are planning a commemoration, a national march for justice for Emmett on the 27th and the 28th here in Mississippi. and we'll have a hard copy of getting flyers out come Thursday. And it should be in stone what'll happen that 27th and the 28th of August. We're planning town hall meetings. We're planning for those to go down to Delta, to Money, Mississippi, where they have the Trail of Tears, where it takes tours from when Emmett made it to Money, and they'll have their location till when they pulled him out the river on August the 31st, 1955. So there is a bunch of organizing going on during that time. So like I said, we'll have it set in stone come this Thursday, and we'll be able to shoot flyers to you all for you all to broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, we talk a lot, Priscilla, about the organizing and about the campaigns and what we can be doing, you know, out here in California to help support you. So please continue to keep us updated, but we also need to continue to keep the public, the wider, broader community out here aware of what's happening, because we're not even digging into some of the things, some of the details of the evidence.
If you all only knew.
Yeah, that you have come across that make you question, you know, how could anybody not charge this woman at this point? Or, you know, how can we be here 67 years later and there's not been anyone who's been held accountable for this? And then you see things like that 100-year-old Nazi that, you know, arrested and brought to justice, etc.
For crimes against humanity, as if
exactly
Emmett's death was not a crime against humanity.
As if he was inhuman, as if he wasn't human, right? So I think that and I agree with Friday's point, absolutely. The original crime was a flashpoint in our community and around this country and around the world. And it brought about a change, an indelible change that you know, resonates today. And I believe that justice, in the same way as the crime did, justice for that crime could be another flashpoint that leaves an indelible mark on our community as we find ourselves in this moment of reparations. So I believe this Emmett Till case is something that is intrinsically tied to repairing our communities and reparative justice. And so I say this to you a lot, but we are in this fight with you, and we are committed to this fight with you. So anything you need or anything that we can do to support you, you let us know.
And let me say this. I just want to bring attention to the many lynchings that have happened since the 20th century. You have Frederick Jermaine Carter, Billy Joe Johnson, Nick Naylor, this Jones boy just in 2019, but it's not and other cases where killings in jails, where our young men are dying here in Mississippi in jail.
Yep.
And all of a sudden they are taken out to infirmaries, and then all of a sudden they call their family back, they're dead. There's something going on. And what needs to happen is exposure. And once you expose this, then you go to the legal system and you sue. This is how you deal with consequences of breaking laws on their end with the law enforcement officers or whomever in these high positions that's responsible for these deaths. Now, like I was saying, the latest hangings here in Mississippi, you have Lynn Finch, who is our attorney general, whose father, who has a resort here in Mississippi, farmland, 8,000 acres, who has a resort, whereas the specialty to this resort is Nathan Bedford Forrest. The Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Confederate General.
Confederate General, that's right.
The Confederate General, this is a special place for corporate businessmen to come here and vacation, and then they have special activities. Now you tell me what's going on.
What the activities are. That's right.
What the activities are.
That's
are
right.
They still lynching us? And my thing is, yes, they're doing it secretly. They're having meetings, and things are going on. We having all these missing black men here in Mississippi.
And she's the attorney general, and the attorney general is who would bring charge.
Attorney general.
Yeah.
So you tell me where the help is, and if they're really going to help. So what do you do in that situation? Here as Black people in America, and we know that we got people that they have been voted in positions who has Nathan Bedford Forrest, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and he has a remodeled home there where it's a special place for corporate businessmen right now to vacation. So that's it's the attorney general, but we supposed to go to her about lynchings. We are supposed, and she is the first person, I don't know if you all remember, said that Carolyn Bryant was not going to be indicted because there was not enough evidence to indict her.
Yeah.
That's just like letting the fox go into the chicken coop.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would she come out and speak on this behalf when they are the same two people? Mm-hmm. Carolyn Bryant, a White Citizens Council Klansman, and Lynn Fitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who has this association? Dad and her family are from KKK dealings. No, sir, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
No, we cannot have anyone like that representing the state of Mississippi any longer.
I agree. Tell it.
Lynn Fitch, Attorney General,
and
Mississippi.
Attorney General for the state of Mississippi.
Put that name.
So the good old boys are good old girls too, and we act like they ain't.
Yes.
Absolutely. No.
Absolutely. Yes, and that's what's wrong. Too many Black people are running around here asleep. Open your eyes. Get in the books and read. They always say the thing to hide anything and write in the open is to put it in a book because they don't think we'll read it. Well, I'm a avid researcher, and I can bring it to the light, and I will bring it to the light and will expose it.
That's right. Amen, sister. Keep on doing that. Keep on doing that.
You're so powerful. I mean, Priscilla, you are a beautiful spirit, and the tenacity and the fight that you bring. We had to have you here. You know, I wanted you to be on other platforms. You wanted to be on other Black platforms before going to mainstream media. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for that, because I think that you're making sure that your people understand what is happening. It helps us to be better at waking the rest of us up.
Yeah.
It helps us sound the alarm with you.
Yes,
and I'll say, if Black media, if you're not talking about this, you're not Black media. So I don't know.
You gotta talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing. If you're not talking about this case and bringing justice to this woman, I don't know what you're talking about. So.
And let me tell you what happens here in Mississippi. Whenever there is conversation about Emmett Till, the media will come and record me, but they will not ever put out about James O. Eastland, John Stennis, Lynn Fitch. They are purposefully trying to oppress and keep the family of Mississippi out of the mainstream media because they don't want the truth.
Yeah.
They do not want the truth, because I have been talking about this and not once have you heard this in mainstream media.
Wow.
And you have to ask yourself, why have you not heard this in mainstream media?
Yeah.
Why have they not talked about the hate map in mainstream media?
Yeah. No, they don't talk about Eastland and Stennis almost at all.
No, they're not going to talk about them because
or the current president's,
a lot of money.
Yeah, or the current president's or the current president's connections to Eastland and Stennis.
Right.
Yeah, so they don't talk about that at all. And so I appreciate you being courageous and powerful in talking about that and speaking truth to power, because this is what we have to do. We talked about this in our last segment, is we can't be afraid of the truth. And
you cannot.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only way we'll move forward and the only way we can have reconciliation with each other is to expose the truth. With all this hidden and these secrets, we can't move forward.
Yeah, no,
this has to come out for Blacks and whites.
Yep.
It has to come out for us to move forward.
I said I agree with Dr. Darity on this. I've heard him say this, that it's really truth and conciliation, or truth and healing, because we've never had a point where we've had conciliation. So we can't reconciliate. We can't reconcile.
We ain't never been on this footing.
We can't reconcile if we ain't never been conciliated with each other.
That's
right.
That's
So we gotta start telling the truth, and we gotta start healing. Not only our community but this nation, because this nation was built on our community. So you got to heal us first, right? Priscilla, tell folks, I think the GoFundMe, I put it in the chat here, but tell folks where they can find, how they can find your GoFundMe, and also how they can contact you, on social media.
And who they need to contact if folks are able, because we want people to come. If you're in Texas, Tennessee, New Orleans, especially if you're down there and it's drivable, because some of us, we got to get on a plane. I looked at plane tickets and
it's crazy now.
It's a little pricey. It's a lot pricey. If people want to come, who do they call to find out information to get down there and support you all on the 27th and the 28th?
Brother Kareem and Coach Campbell, and I do. Is there any way I can get that information to you? Because
get it to us and we'll get it out there. I could say their numbers. I have their numbers here.
Yes.
Can I go ahead and say their numbers?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me find. If I knew I was doing that, I would have pulled them up. So let me find Brother Kareem.
And again, it's August 27th and 8th.
7th and the 28th.
27th and 28th in Money, Mississippi.
Okay, so Brother Kareem Muhammad, his number is 662-577-1258. If you all are wanting information on getting down to Mississippi, what the events are going to be, Priscilla said they're going to map those things out. Yep. So we should have the information after Thursday. But if you want to get a jump start, you can go ahead and talk to Brother Kareem Muhammad at 662-577-1258. Okay.
Yep. Pull up, family. We talking about pulling up. This is
pull up summer.
Pull up in Money, Mississippi. That's where you need to pull up.
Jackson, Mississippi.
In Jackson. Okay, in Jackson. I need to pull up in Jackson. Be honest with you. I need to get back home. And when I get back home, Priscilla, we gonna sit down and we gonna talk again.
Just as we're closing out, what do you want the world to know? What information do you want to give, including the GoFundMe, which we're gonna put up also?
I just want the world to know that it's time to read. It's time to wake up. It's time to know who's around you. It's time to know who is servicing you. You need to know.
Yeah.
It's time for us to get our youth involved in these politics to vote, because the things that are happening to them, and they are our future.
Yeah.
They are our future. So
Amen.
Voting first and foremost. And we gotta curtail this hate crime, this racial animosity that's going on in America. Mm-hmm. It's got to be exposed. And we got to do the groundwork. We got to do grassroots, door to door.
We got to get all those Lynn Fitches out of office.
We for real got to get all the Lynn Fitches out.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Sterling.
Thank you, Priscilla, for taking some time coming here today. We're going to be talking. But keep fighting. Stay in the fight. We in it with you.
We in it to win, too.
Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate you all.
Absolutely. We appreciate you, sister. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Every time she's powerful. Every time.
And I'm so glad she shared about Lynn Fitch because, I understand that this is part of this process is legal. We will have the GoFundYou information up on NAASD's LA's Twitter and social medias, because we do want you all to put some money towards the legal battle that is ensuing. But when we say that this goes all the way up to Capitol Hill, it goes all the way up to the White House. We mean that literally.
The president. It is at the feet of the president. This case.
The data will come out. We don't want to get ahead of the legal fight, but we do want you all to understand how serious this is. And so we are going to take a minute. We have some promotional announcements.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's supposed to be me reading this paper right here that says promotional announcements. First thing, NAASD. Okay. First thing, CJEC is having a webinar. The Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, in partnership with Community Health Councils, present a virtual California reparations listening session on Tuesday, August 23rd at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be a panelist in my capacity as the Vice President of the LA Reparations Task Force, along with AB 3121 Task Force member Jovan Scott Lewis and Downtown Crenshaw board member Jan Williams. This webinar will be held on the commemoration of the International Day for the Remembrance of the Slave Trade and its Abolition. For registration details, please visit CJEC's Twitter or Facebook at CJECO Official, OFFICIAL.
What's the date again?
It is on Tuesday, August 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Man, Black August is popping, y'all.
Black August
is popping. We got Corsicana movie coming out. We
with
got
Bass Reeves, Independent.
Yeah, we got. We are organizing in Mississippi around Emmett Till and bringing justice and more awareness to that case. And we got CJEC still doing that work and coming together with other local partners to bring more awareness around what's happening in California with AB 3121 and Reparations Task Force.
Yes.
Black August is on fire.
It's on fire. And following Black August, we're going to have the NAASD Summit, the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. We like to invite you to our inaugural Reparations Summit in Atlanta, Georgia on Friday, September 30th to Saturday, August 1st, located at the beautiful National Center for Civil and Human Rights.
It is beautiful.
Come and connect and strategize with like-minded reparationists and to enjoy Atlanta's Southern hospitality. Panelists and guest speakers and other exciting activities are being confirmed as we speak. For more information on the summit and hotel accommodations, visit us at Twitter at NAASD.org.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
That's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Y'all, look, I will
come to work. Don't just come to party, y'all. Come to work.
I will be in rare form as we get into some of these panels, and we have people who are confirming. We're going to start releasing some of the folks who have confirmed with us. Now. But this is going to be a time to roll up your sleeves, to bring it off of social media, to be in live, in person, bring your brain power, bring your best strategies, because we as a collective are working on the intention of knowing what policies we want to demand from legislators, and we're going to be doing it consistently across the country. So you're going to come with if you come with nothing, you're going to walk away with a whole lot. So just keep that in mind.
That's right. 50 years post-Black political convention in Gary, Indiana. I believe in the power of numbers. We are in a transformative year, fam. And this conference is going to be a time and a place where we're going to come together and we're going to workshop. And we're, like Friday said, we're going to come out with consistent messaging that's going to push this movement forward. So show up, show out.
Show up, show out. If there are people you think should be there, again, NAASD.org. On our social media, we have the information about the summit up. We want to thank our guest, Isaiah Washington, with his independent Descendant film about the original Lone Ranger, Bass Reeves, Corsicana.
We have to talk to Isaiah.
We got to bring him back. I didn't think he was going to get political.
I had a couple things I wanted to say, but
But we thank him so much for being part of our show. We thank Priscilla Sterling and the Emmett Till family for helping us to elevate this message, and as she said, for getting us not awakened, but she wants us to get involved. Yeah. So we up. Some of us have been up a little longer, but we want you all to take the time now to get involved. We are here at Morris Studios in the wonderful Emmett Park.
Yep.
Poetis. Season number 3.
Season 3.
Poetis is in the box.
Yeah.
Making sure we get everything good and right. And we thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Politics.
Yeah, no, fam. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for being in this fight and being in this movement, because this is about the people. This is about you. And it's about what you are doing, not about me and Friday or any one individual. It's about all of us. It's about all of us and how we can collectively push forward.
For the next 7 generations.
For the next 7 generations. Yes. So as we get out, one thing on the theme of Black August I wanted to recognize was the 1965 Watts Uprising. Uprising is the word I like, because it was our people showing that, we done had enough.
We done had enough. We about there again.
Yeah. And we about that life. And so 1965, we are 57 years post, so August 11th through 16th is when that happened. So we want to commemorate that on our way out here with some words from Martin Luther King, who came to Los Angeles and spoke a few days after the uprising. And so with that, this is the Star Season 3. We're going to be back. Stick with us. Stick with us. All right, fam. Next time.
I'm here first because at bottom we are brothers and sisters. And whatever pains you pains me. When you suffer, I suffer. When you are happy, I'm happy. And for the information of my good brother, we all go up together or we all go down together. Now I live approximately 2,500 miles from here. I'm not free there, and our brothers and sisters are not free there. And you are not free in California and in the North. Tell it to them.
Our issues, our voices, our views. This is